The Wheel of Time, episode 7. Tyler, let's start with a summary as we always do, shall we?
All right, please.
Okay. Episode 7 is called The Dark Along the Ways. The Two Rivers villagers who followed Moiraine into the Ways argue about returning for Mat, but continue forward. Low Isle guides them along the ways, which have been corrupted. Ooh. The group encounters a Trolloc. That sounds like a no good. That's a big task after they killed like 40,000 of them in the first episode. Egwene repels the Trolloc, but the one power attracts Machan Shin, the Black Wind, which provokes their deepest fears. Nynaeve repels Machan Shin with the power, while Moiraine opens the way gate to Faldara. A man also in the ways follows them to Faldara. I wonder who that could be. Once there, they argue with Moiraine, who reveals whoever is not the dragon would die if they reach the Eye of the World. Moiraine visits the seer, the seer, Min Farshaw. Nynaeve and Lan, the heir to the lost kingdom of Malkir, have sex. That's how it states it in the
That's
summary.
actually the summary there, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Egwene and Rand reconcile. Rand recalls that Tam was present at the Battle of the Shining Walls and encountered a pregnant maiden of the spear who died giving birth to Rand, whom Tam raised. Machan Shin taunted Rand as he is, in fact, maybe, spoiler alert, the dragon, probably. Rand had channeled to escape earlier from the Dark Friend and the Trolloc in the Ways. Rand and Moiraine leave Faldara to go to the Eye of the World, leaving the rest of the group behind. So, Tyler, let's start with the cold open.
Cold open.
Cold open was actually really good. I thought.
Yeah, it was very cool. You had this this woman who clearly just ate Chipotle on the battlefield, and so she was bloated, uncomfortable. And I've been there. I mean, I've been in crazy battles where I'm taking on multiple opponents, and I really have to use the bathroom. And I got to tell you, I'm not at my sharpest.
Not after a trip to Chipotle. That's no good.
That's what I mean.
And so she's a maiden of the spear, and she has red hair, much like another character in our show has red hair, maybe. Now, obviously, they're very deadly in the books. They're very talented fighters. Now, she is obviously giving birth. She's not even just pregnant. She is actively giving birth.
Right.
And is still able to single-handedly murder a number of soldiers. I didn't actually count. I should have. I want to say it's somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. Yeah. Does that sound about right?
But I mean, this just goes to show, I think they were just dispelling a myth that pregnancy is really even that big of a deal. I think,
that's a good point.
Women complaining about how uncomfortable they are, how painful it is. She's out there just destroying knights like it's nothing while giving, like literally in the middle of giving birth, like you're saying. So I think they were just dispelling that myth. Pregnancy isn't really that big of a deal. It doesn't really hurt that bad. She got through it and killed a bunch of bad guys at the same time. So
yeah, this is evidence that our wives have in fact lied to us about pregnancy and about how difficult it is to give birth, because she's out there slaughtering peeps like nobody's business. So
I was just there holding my wife's hand like, suck it up, come on.
Oh my god.
Like, jeez.
I went and got a sandwich, and when I came back there was a baby.
Right.
So it was a cool scene, though. Great action.
Cool scene.
It was a cool scene, and it really was the first time that it felt like a Game of Thrones type fantasy drama to me.
I would agree. The cinematography, even how they shot the fight scenes, the slow-mo they used and stuff was actually very good. The only thing, Justin, that really gets me. So
wait, I want to see if it's the same thing. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
So it's that one of the knights, I'm just going to call them their knights, I guess, right? One of the knights she's fighting decides that he's going to swing to where she's not at one point. And they do this in slow motion. This is one of the slow motion swings where you see as clear as day, because they have it in slow-mo, that he goes like this towards her and then moves his arm to ensure that he doesn't hit her, and he's swinging to where she's not, and then she dodges. And you're like, what the hell was that? It's like, was he hoping she was going to jump into the blade with a jump to the right? Like, he was clearly swinging to miss her. And like, why you would use that take as the one to put in slow-mo when it's clear that he was purposefully trying to miss her, I thought was pretty stupid.
It really reminded me of the Last Jedi battle scene in the throne room with the Praetorian guards, which was so horrendously choreographed in the Last Jedi. If you go back and watch that scene, like you said, there's guards flipping around and then just like swinging and like hitting nothing and then spinning away. And it's like,
that's exactly what it was like.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Oh my god. So yes, I did notice that swing.
Yeah.
And the other thing I don't like is the jump scare teleporting. Now they do it several times in this episode.
They do it several times in this episode.
This is the first time they do it, where she kills a bunch of people. She like turns around, falls on the rock on the ground. She's like, oh, all of a sudden there's a guy behind the rock right on top of her. And it's like, wouldn't that guy have taken like 5 minutes to like run from where we could see all the way to climbing up on that rock? And she wouldn't have heard him coming or running or climbing on the rock. It's like, oh, I hate that.
Yeah, don't understand that. Another thing though, not only is she an amazing fighter, but she's got a cannon. Did you see her throw that spear? I mean, that reminded me of the White Walkers in Game of Thrones.
She's like the Night King, man.
Right, like the Night King pointing up there and man, oh man.
But she looked more athletic throwing it than he did.
She actually did look more athletic.
The Night King went.
Yeah, and then it just darted out of there like it was rocket boosted when he barely threw it. At least hers looked a little more believable that she actually threw it hard.
That's true.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, she's got a cannon, and she was just turning those goons into Swiss cheese. Really, overall, again, other than that, I can't believe they picked that take to slow-mo where it's so clear he was trying to miss her. But other than that, it's like, and the fact that it sticks out, it's like, it's not like I was even looking for that because I didn't know it was about to happen. And the fight scene was really cool, and then I saw that, I was like, oh my God, why did they do that? It's like seeing a slow-motion thing where someone clearly pulls their punch to miss somebody, and it's like, well, you don't use that take then. You have to use one where it's disguised.
You edit, you cut that, or you do something with that. Yeah.
So I don't know. That was a bit tricky.
But
yeah. And so then
overall, a cool opening.
Overall, I think the coolest opening they've had by far, coolest fight scene they've had by far. But then she goes and sits down, and then one of those knights catches her mid dump. She just had that Chipotle. She's trying to work it out. Again, we can all relate to this scene, and that you're just trying to find a quiet place to do your business, and then suddenly a knight sneaks up on you, and isn't that the worst feeling?
Where did that knight come from? I mean,
where did he come from?
See him, and all of a sudden, boom, he's right there.
He was probably squatting behind the rock a second ago, trying to go himself. Battle it starts to flush you.
We didn't. Oh, whoa. We didn't see all the way around the rock. Maybe like one person was here, one person was here, one person was here. Yeah. It's more movie magic, like in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex breaks down the gate and he walks right out. But then when he knocks the Jeep off the edge, we realize it's like a 70-foot drop, and you think, well, wait a second. How did that T-Rex walk out of there?
It's funny. Someone had to point that out to me. Like when I watched that when I was younger, I watched it like multiple times and never caught on. And someone said that, and then I watched it again. And you're like, oh my God. Like it's so obvious what a terrible mistake that is. I couldn't believe I didn't catch it. But that's a testament to how good. I think that movie is great overall.
It is. Jurassic Park is a fantastic movie.
And so you're just so engrossed in it that like you miss those things unless you're really looking for them. But that was pretty egregious. It's like, the T-Rex just came from there, and it's like 100-foot drop off. Like it makes absolutely no sense.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
but okay. So we like the opening. It may be my favorite sequence in the show so far.
I think so far, yeah, I would agree.
So I think, do we pick up in the ways? Is that where we start?
So then we're in the ways. Yep. Then we're in the ways. Yep.
Now, what did you think? We talked a little bit about the beginning in episode 6, but we only got a little shot of it. So now we're in the ways. What do you think of the portrayal of the ways?
Well, I mean, it's nothing like the book. And so
I didn't think so, but
yep. And so if we ignore that for a minute and just say, okay, well, take it for what it was. Maybe they didn't think they could do that cinematically well. Would be kind of tough. The more I thought about it, how it's described in the book would be very tough to make visually interesting. But at the same time, would make a cool story for what they're doing. So I don't know, whatever. So taking it for what it was, I don't know, not that interesting to me. It was just kind of a walkway in a dark place that
very short walkway.
And like this, again, this is a huge segment of the book. I mean, you're talking, you spend lots of time in the ways. And I just don't quite get like why they didn't spend more time. What I thought about is, think about in what is it, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, right, where they have to go in the cave to find the Horcrux and everything. It's like that kind of feels like you can feel the emotion and feel what it was like when they were going in the cave and seeing the monsters, and when they get up on that little platform and trying to protect themselves, and the moments that Dumbledore goes through and how Harry's trying to help him and protect him. It's like, I don't know, there was you have very distinct, vivid memories of all the things that went down and happened there. Right. And it's like, that's what I was expecting out of the ways, like to really think about their journey through the ways and the things they encountered and all the stuff that happened. But to me, it's like they were just kind of in and out. Like they ran into a single Trolloc and they're like, oh man, they're taking this path. And then they had
that's not good. That's no good.
Right. The wind that just like has a bunch of negative self-talk. It's really like a wind that embodies.
It goes around you. It's like, you suck.
I know, dude. It was like a wind that embodies my personal psyche. Because I mean, that's what I'm doing all the time. I'm just like, Tyler, you stupid piece of shit. And then that wind. That's all that wind is doing there. So it's just attacked by a cloud of my own self-talk. And you see, they could barely handle it. Think about how I survive with that all the time. All the time I'm in that wind.
More impressive. Yeah.
Thank you. Like I'm dealing with that wind all the time. You're a fucking idiot, Tyler. You can't do anything right. You're stupid. Why are you talking about this show? Why should anyone care about your opinion? I mean, that's just constant.
Well, no one does.
Exactly. Yeah. No one does. See? And that's why sometimes the wind wins. But that's what it wants, so I don't give in.
Sometimes the wind wins.
Sometimes the wind wins.
So yeah, I mean, I was expecting like pure darkness, like you can't see anything, but instead it's this jagged thing that I think I saw captured in words. He said it kind of reminded him of a video game, and he showed a clip of this game, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a straight rip off of whatever video game it was. I can't remember what he said it was, but so it's like it's depicted fine. They can see far away, and like they can see, it's not like, it swallows light like they describe. I mean, I pictured them walking in pure blackness.
Yeah.
And like just having to like inch through and hoping and not knowing what is directly in front of them. And
there was like no way to even penetrate the darkness. Right. It was just so consuming. Yeah.
But instead they go, and right away Perrin's like, what's that? And they're like, oh, did you see that sign right over there? It's like,
right. Just a sign that says this way. So no, yeah, they saw, what was it called? The guiding stone.
So, and he sees the guiding stone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the guiding stone was defaced. So it was graffitied in some way. There's probably a Banksy-like character that went in there and just marked it up with all of their shenanigans that they like to do. But now it means it's probably worth
a lot of money someday.
Millions of dollars now. Yeah. So they find that. They camp out for a night because, again, it's just the way it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of dark. So they camp there.
Sure.
Find a single Trolloc. Then what happens? Oh yeah, so we find out that,
we believe Egwene channels to throw the Trolloc off the bridge.
Indeed, but now we find out that again that the Trollocs have been using the ways for a while, and so now your question is, why have the Trollocs been in this dark cave all the time? And to me, it was pretty clear. Like they've been smoking in there. There's probably like cigarette butts all over the place. There's the huge, you could see in some of the shots, huge stacks of nudie magazines and stuff like that. So they've been using this as like their little hangout spot. And they're clearly not going to be happy that people have found it. I mean, would you be? If someone found your stack of nudie magazines, terrified. Justin?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, like your stack of women over 60 and drunk chicks and all your other nudie magazines that you get.
They're classics.
Oh my God, those are just your favorite. You've loved those for a long time. But yeah, so then Nynaeve uses her power of rage healing to cure the cloud of negative self-talk, and they escape.
Yes. Wouldn't it be funny if all of a sudden, after Nynaeve is like projecting, that all of a sudden the cloud is just like, you can do it,
right? It becomes a positive cloud.
I believe in all of you. I believe in all of you.
It starts running every morning.
It starts eating better.
It's just eating better. It's my God.
I support your journey.
It's the happiest that cloud has ever been. But yeah, so then they escape. We go from a scene that I loved in the cold opening to this one I just I didn't really like too much.
It's to me, it's like, right, their journey in the ways is supposed to take a long time.
Yeah.
And he even says Loial for some reason needs a long time to like read a piece of stone. I don't know. Okay, for whatever, sure.
Okay.
But then it's like the journey was it was a long journey to the gate they needed to go to. And then when they get attacked by Machin Shin, they're like, I think it was Lan. Lan's like, what's the closest gate to Fal Dara? And he's like, it's closer, but, and he's like, go. And like, it literally looked like they just turned the corner and there was a gate there. And it's like, oh, so why even sleep in the ways, Tyler? Let me ask you this. If the Fal Dara way gate is literally right around the corner, why not just go outside and be there and sleep there and then go back in the ways when you have to?
I mean, because it looked comfy. I mean, like I said, it was all lit up really well for them in that little spot. They all kind of had their own corner. Really wasn't that big of a deal. The ways are a big deal in the book. And this one was a pretty short little journey. Again, it just seems so weird that like a huge chunk of the book is spent in the ways, and we spent all of 5 minutes there. We spent all of 5 minutes with them camping for an inexplicable reason. So I don't know, seemed a bit strange. But now Justin, they're in Faldara, so we've moved on. That we've forgotten about the ways. And then Moraine, I think, puts a hit out on Matt. She does. Six a red Aja on him. And I keep waiting for, based on the situation we know with the actor who plays Matt, it's going to be like he finds out about the hit and he's going to, I got to change my face. So he's going to get like some sort of magic to change his face. A
potion or something.
Exactly. A potion, maybe like a Shrek potion. So he drinks the potion and it changes him like into a horse or something, just like that, it did to Donkey.
But just a guy that looks sort of like him, but is not quite exactly like him.
Yep. And that way he can dodge the hit. I mean, I've had to do the same thing when I used to have dealings with the mafia. Do you think this is how I looked early on in my life? No. Got into the...
I used to run with some rough crowds.
Very rough crowd. A lot of black belts. So...
How did you know they were black belts?
They told me after.
Okay.
So anyway, Perrin thinks Justin, he sees Pad and Fane. Pad and Fane being what's his name? The Didler, I believe they called him. the Didler.
Pad on Fane, the Didler.
He was famous in their town.
He was whistling in the ways, and he was spotted in the ways. Did you spot him when they pan away in 1 second? There's like a little flash of light, and he is like off in the background.
I did not. No, I didn't catch that at all. I only saw they showed him like when they got to Faldara or wherever.
He leaves the ways in Faldara.
Yeah, leaves the ways there. And then so we see the Didler, so that's interesting. And then we find out that Perrin, I think now is vegan after his time in the hippie commune. So that's kind of interesting.
Despite having wolf-like tendencies, that's an odd choice.
I'm going to say that seems weird because these wolves, as we've seen,
he's a pacifist vegetarian.
Right, but like that seems weird given that we see the wolves just completely devouring creatures all the time. They're not eating like carrot stew or anything, they're eating living animals. But whatever, that his choice. Then what do we go to? Moraine is so desperate for answers, right? She goes to a fortune teller. That's when you know that, like, wow, you've ran out of ideas. Like I kept expecting this lady to start flipping tarot cards and charging like $50 a second or something for her fortune. That's going to be so vague as to not be useful whatsoever. And that's essentially what we got, right? We got a lot of information that wasn't super helpful. Rand apparently has a baby.
Rand has a baby. They're all connected, sort of.
But we kind of already knew that.
We already knew that. They're all Taveran. Yeah, they're all connected. Okay, yeah, we get that. The wheel kind of weaves around them all a little more.
Yeah, okay. Already knew that. They're hinting very heavily at this four-headed dragon business early in this part of the episode. Yeah. They really want you to go down that hole, which again would be strange given what we know about the story that they're pulling from. But then again, they've already changed many things from
many
things. So who knows? Maybe that is indeed what they're going for, or maybe this is just a little bit of that Cincinnati shuffle, that misdirection.
The Cincinnati shuffle. Maybe they're gonna reveal it all of a sudden, suddenly at the end of this episode, out of nowhere, and then you're like, oh.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, then maybe there you have it.
So, but before that, as the summary said, Lan and Nynaeve have sex.
They do. Yep. It is unemotional. There's no passion. It is just sex.
Yes.
It's not anything more, anything less.
What did you think of that whole thing with the, Nynaeve? And here's jump scare number 2. Nynaeve is stalking Lan, just kind of following him around, watching him in with his family. And she's like watching him, and he's sitting down at the table eating. And then she like turns around and boom, Lan is right behind her. Suddenly quiet, nothing, no sound, no door creaking, no steps. Boom, Lan is there.
That was insane. He teleported. He absolutely teleported. So apparently he can touch the one power as well. I mean, because what the hell was that? That was
I don't know.
If they didn't mean to show that Lan teleported, then that is some of the worst editing I've ever seen. because it was wasn't like they did anything to even show her like, okay, she's turning away and there's just a smidgen of time to give you the sense that maybe he could have gotten somewhere. It's literally like she was looking at him, turned her head, and then he's there. So it's like either that son of a bitch can teleport or that is horrible editing. Like, what are they thinking with that? That blew my mind, because they've done that again. Yeah. We mentioned it already a few times. That was egregious. Absolutely. This is egregious.
Egregious.
I can't believe they did this. And I wasn't a fan of this whole thing. Seeing Lan be like kind of this family man and all, sweet to the kids. And I just want Lan to be a killing machine. That's all he needs to be to me. Right.
I agree. They're really trying to humanize him, okay. Again, it's fine. A lot of people are mad about what they're doing to Lan, because severing the connection with Moiraine and being the family man and sleeping with Nynaeve already and all these things that just kind of don't happen. It's like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like when they stray away from the early source material when they have great source material. But, this whole show to me, maybe this is a better conversation at the end, but it feels like Game of Thrones in the sense that we're starting at season 7. We already it feels like we've lost the source material already. We're already getting less than 10 episodes. Everything feels rushed. People are teleporting all over the world and all over the map to get to where they need to be. And it just feels like boom, 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 boom. Take this. Just be done with it. Like it feels like season 7 and 8.
Yep, to where they've ran out of source material. Now they're flying by the seat of their pants and they don't quite know what to do. But what's weird is that's not the situation. In Game of Thrones, when they had the source material, it's one of the greatest shows we've ever seen. And we have to mention that because as we mention Game of Thrones on every episode. It's
every episode
actually,
of every video we make.
Yeah, it's actually obligatory. We do get paid by them to make sure to mention them to try to hype up their next show, which is what's it called?
House of the Dragon. And I got to be honest, I don't give a rip about it.
Yeah, we're not very good hype machines. They're not paying us a lot, so.
I'm gonna have to be really bored to watch that because, to be honest, I would have rather had like a sequel of like picking up with Jon Snow 10 years later. I would have been more interested in like a story along those lines.
Yeah,
but like
they just killed it for me.
Yeah, I mean the way they ended that show, I'm just like, man, I've got no desire to watch a prequel now. But anyway, before we keep going through Faldera, one thing I wanted to bring up while we were in the ways. Okay, so Mach and Shin is making them say all these negative things to themselves. Okay, right, and they're all freaking out. Did you notice that they didn't go to Low Isle? Low Isle didn't get. He was in the ways. Mach and Shin was there. Low Isle didn't say anything, or Mach and Shin didn't say anything to Low Isle. Like, why? Is it because Low Isle is just so positive and he has no negative thoughts? Do you think if it like cut to him, he would have been like, I think I'll get Big Boy tonight. Like, like what is he?
What does it say to him? Now, I bet he still has negative thoughts. Or probably like, remember those books you've been pushing off reading for years? You're like, oh, you idiot, you're such a slacker. You could have read those by now. And
that's been on your TBR list too long.
Right? You said you were going to finish your thesis this year.
I just thought that was weird. I was like, they didn't. Low Isle didn't have any bad thoughts.
That's a great point. And that's probably the one I would have been most interested to see. So that's really
would have been
real wasted opportunity.
Okay,
so we have Lan can teleport now. So this is a really new.
That's a big reveal. That's going to pay off later.
A big reveal. They have the really awkward, like, walk you home down to the street. Nynaeve is just begging for him to take her in her arms, sweep her off her feet, and he's just too much of a coward. This is not the Lan that I knew and loved from the books. First off, that Lan was a cold killing machine, man. He knew how to fight, how to protect. He was a no nonsense type of person. He's over here, he's kissing babies and whatnot. He's getting awkward around women and leaving. And then Nynaeve's like, my God, like how much stronger do I have to lay it on for him to realize what I want? Barges in on him. And she just like screams at the top of her lungs, like, take me to Pleasure Town, fuck me over on that rainbow. And then finally he gets the message and they just have sex.
Sex, period.
According to
now, I think that scene is so weird. I think as men, we all want women to do and act like the way Nynaeve did, like hint at her. But like, I'm like, what?
Be super clear with your signals, please.
Super clear. But what if it were reversed? Like, I just watched that and I thought, what if Lan was just staring at Nynaeve through the window?
Right.
And then was just watching her. And then when she said goodnight, and walked away and closed the door, all of a sudden she turns around and Lan walked back in and had the door shut behind him.
Yeah, if she had her shirt off and he just walked in and was just staring at her with the door closed. Exactly. Now it's a horror movie.
Now it's a sexual assault. Right? I'm just
yeah.
saying, but like we're supposed to be like, oh, Nynaeve is powerful and she's taking control of her sexuality and what she wants.
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, if you flip flop those around, Lan's in a Faldar in prison.
Right. Yeah. No, it was uncomfortable. Even the way it took shape. It just was not comfortable. Did not feel organic or natural at all. It felt very awkward and uncomfortable. And yeah, in a real situation like that, if Lan really just walked away and turned around, you know what the other person does? They leave because they didn't pick up on the signal. So that's what you do. You don't just barge into their room.
It's B&E, babe. Breaking and entering, heading in there.
Exactly. Man, he'd have a laundry list of charges if he did that.
Yeah.
But then we also have more hooking up that takes place, right?
That's
Rand and Egwene hook up.
Is that after the CW three-way love triangle scene? I think that's after the fact, isn't it?
What did I miss a three-way?
Well, there's the scene where Nynaeve comes out and she's talking to Rand and they're arguing about Matt. And she's like, Egwene's not a prize to be won. And then Rand and Perrin have the little back and forth where you realize Perrin apparently has feelings for for Egwene. And so then there's this little
wife so that he could be with her.
Yeah. And so now there's this little standoff between Rand and Perrin, and boy, did I just feel awkward watching that. I'm like, oh, this is Hayden Christensen acting, Anakin Skywalker acting. It felt awkward. It felt like I was watching a CW
it really
show.
Did. Well, and again, because there's just not enough setup for it.
They're just mad.
Right. You didn't really feel that at all between him and Egwene. Like not one bit the whole time. And so it's like, what's happening here? It just doesn't seem to make any sense. That was weird. And then the Matt thing I found funny too. They're really trying to throw him under the bus, right? So now that he's off the show, they're like, no, Matt was feeding off the dagger as much as the dagger was feeding off him. Like, don't worry about him. He was an evil son of a bitch. Like, we should all move on with our lives. Stop.
Call the Red Aja. We'll kill him. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll just be over with it.
Despite the fact that again in the books he's not a bad guy. Like that. No. That's not the way it is in the books at all. Okay. Change for the show. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And then the next thing, Justin, we find out, much like a Fifth Element, not Fifth Element, but rather a Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis has been dead the whole time. Rand has been using magic the entire time, Justin.
Yes.
And we couldn't see it. You know why? Because they didn't show it, despite the fact that we saw those same images, which is a bit interesting and doesn't make any sense. But whatever.
No, that is a little awkward. Now, what did you think of this reveal? So we get the reveal. Now, again, I wonder if this is a look over here, mislead to
Kansas City Shuffle.
The Kansas City Shuffle, where
I always change the city.
This is not. Oh man! So now I'm just gonna keep thinking the Tallahassee Shuffle. So, so yeah, I wonder if Rand is actually the dragon in the show still. Now, the reveal is supposed to be that Rand is the dragon. He can use the one power. He's used it multiple times. He did use it to knock down the door, which I said a few episodes ago. It sure looked like they were hinting that he used a little something extra to knock it down. And they showed that he did channel to knock the door down.
But we didn't see the white streamers around him in that shot.
We didn't see it.
And that door did not seem like it was on as sturdy of hinges as that barmaid was trying to imply. I feel like a few good kicks, I could have got it down myself without using it.
Maybe you could have. But I felt like this, if you want to call it a reveal that Rand is in fact the dragon, was super abrupt. It came
underwhelming.
Out of nowhere, very underwhelming. I was trying to compare it again, as we do all things, to Game of Thrones, and I'm like, when they reveal, Jon Snow's reveal, and that he was not Ned's child, even when you start to get a feeling that might be the case, it's still pulled off so wonderfully. And like when you find out later his name from the same scene, the way they set those things up, the way the camera pans in and out, the way they build it, it was fantastic. And then you get this, and it's like Rand just wakes up and like has a flashback from the scene that we talked about with Tam in the woods. So you see that. But then he just all of a sudden, they just show a bunch of flashbacks where he was using the power, and you're like, oh, it's Rand.
Right.
But it's like, we just find out now because you're just going to have Rand like wake up and remember things. And now we know, like, I don't get it. I don't
get it
get
either.
why there isn't some, why they wouldn't all go to the Eye of the World and then something happens to where then we get the reveal. Like everyone's dying, something's going wrong, and then Rand pulls from within himself. I don't know. I thought it was so weird to just be like, Rand wakes up, flashbacks. He's the dragon. He goes and talks to Min. He's like, yeah, I'm the dragon.
It's got to be. I mean, I feel like it's either a big San Diego shuffle, right? Just a huge misdirect here because they do want to do like this four-headed dragon thing, or it's just terrible storytelling and doesn't make any sense because that's like they're almost to the part in the book where it would be revealed, and it's revealed in an epic, amazing. It's the best part of the book is the ending and how it's revealed that Rand is indeed the dragon reborn. And instead he's just like, oh, he has a flashback that he's been using the one power, and he just goes and tells Moraine, and then they leave. And it's like, what? Why would you do it that way? So either it's like you don't understand why people love that in the book, like it's the best part of the first book, or you're literally just misdirecting because you are going to do something different. It is going to be that the other three catch up to him, and they're going to have to use their power together, and it's a four-headed dragon scenario that's not in the books
where
at all.
Maybe he's the main head, maybe he is, but like he can't do what he does without everyone else. And like, okay, if it's something like that where he is still sort of the dragon, but everyone else is still like, okay, that's fine. But boy,
I think
was
that's
that
what it almost has to be. Yeah,
just a clunky, terrible. I mean, anybody watching this video, go in the comments and tell us what you thought of that reveal specifically. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Because I personally hated it. It's just
I'm going to go in there. I'm going to spam the comments and just
spam those comments and be like, it was terrible. Oh my god,
hated it. These guys are so right.
It's not even just Game of Thrones. Other shows, when you do these reveals, they're planned and they're timed, and they come off epic, and they're like moments where like you can rewatch them and you get chills still, even when you know what's gonna happen. And to me, I watched this episode twice, and I was just like, yeah, he wakes up, he has some flashbacks, you're like, oh, it's Rand.
I know,
but like in the context of the show, you don't find out in a meaningful moment. Right, like there's nothing that propels him to unleash whatever he unleashes for everyone to know unequivocally that he is in fact the dragon. Like you said, I think it's
exploding all over people.
Yes,
and then,
he should.
You know what I mean?
All over people. I mean, or maybe it's just, I don't know. It's a real Boise shuffle. I think maybe they're pulling off on us.
I think that is indeed a Boise shuffle. I think that's all they're trying to do here is misdirect. Think, okay, now we know, and this completely lackluster, horrible reveal on who the dragon is. But then it's going to turn out that like he's going to start fighting whatever it is they're about to fight, and then they're going to show up, and then it's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, right? Where Chris Pratt's like the leader, right? But at the same time, he needs the strength of all of his crew in order to really be successful, right? All of the Guardians. And when he's holding the stone, yeah, he can hold it a little longer, but he had to share the power with everyone else. But that was a great scene. It was in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I have to imagine that's what they're setting up with the Sacramento Shuffle.
Yeah, I think so too. It's funny. I was actually going to go to Sacramento also.
Stole it.
You did. You actually did. But yeah, so that's it. And then we see them leave. They walk towards the Blight. He goes to Moiraine and he's like, I'm the dragon. She's like, let's get out of here.
Okay, sever Lance tie. Fuck him. And then we move on.
And apparently she can do that. I don't remember if she can do that in the books, but she can just be like, hey, now he doesn't feel me and doesn't know where I'm going, and so I'll just go wherever I want. And so
it's like turning her GPS on her phone so he can't track her.
Yeah,
smart.
I guess it is smart. Well, that's smart. And so they go to the Blight, which, again, not how I pictured it. It's just sort of vines. It kind of reminded me like of the Harry Potter maze in Goblet of Fire, where it's just vines and trees everywhere, and that's it. And they have to like walk through them, which I don't think is how it is. But it looks kind of creepy. It looks kind of weird because I think in the books, like those trees were like that, but like they're spaced out. And it was like if you touch one, like it'll grab you and like kill you and whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're like even the shrubbery was dangerous and
like
shit
you just couldn't touch anything. But instead, this time it's just overgrown.
Yeah,
and
a bit underwatered. Someone should really get out there with a watering can or something.
It doesn't rain out there very much, obviously. Yeah, it's a little deserty, but
But so that's where we are, and then Rand and Moraine heading to the Eye of the World, and I'm sure the rest of the gang will be right on their heels. I would be, I would have to bet. I'd put my money on it right now. What's the over/under on the gang joining up with them right in the most needed moment? They will show up. It's going to be a Deus Ex Machina moment where the rest of the gang shows up just as they need them. What's the over/under? What do you think?
The over/under? Oh no, it's not even 2-1. It's like 5-4. I mean, it's definitely going to happen. They're going to make it just in time to save Rand and Moiraine, or to give Rand whatever extra power he needs. I think to save the day.
Give him that Guardians of the Galaxy boost.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? What about predictions? Do you have any epic predictions? I mean, I don't want to spoil because we okay. Well, there you go. I was going to say I don't want to spoil it because we know how the book ends, but of course this isn't going to end anywhere near how the book ends.
Yeah.
But even the ending of this book, which is pretty awesome, is
great.
It's confusing though. Like it's not always super clear what's happening and what's going on.
But that's good. I hate it when. Yeah. I hate it when anything, like when you're immersed in these new worlds, because we read books all the time. We love science fiction and fantasy. I love books that just immerse you in the world and you learn about the world as you go. I hate ones that have to do like huge info dumps and tons of exposition because it's just so clear what's happening, and most of the time it's boring. It's like I want to learn about the world while like interesting things are happening. I'm learning about the characters. They're having interesting conversations and doing interesting things. And so just as you go through the story, you learn about the world and how it works. And so in this case, you would learn about the magic system and how it works and what they can do just over time. Like I don't need anyone to spell it out for me. I hate when they do that. It's the absolute worst. And and that book does a great job of like you're just kind of learning things as you go, and things crop up that they don't explain and don't take time. But over time, as you keep reading, everything starts to come into focus. To me, that's always
fill
the best
in the
way
gaps, and I agree. That's great. So,
all right, well, there it is. Let's keep our fingers crossed that episode 8 is decent. Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope. I don't know if it's going to be a longer episode than the other ones or not, and I really don't have any crazy predictions for what they're going to do, what they're going to find, other than like you said, they're going to show up right at the last second, or it would make sense for this show for them to be like, we've got to chase them, and then the next scene is just like they've already found them, and
I think
they're already in the eye of the world.
Lan should just teleport there and just beat him there. You know what I mean? We've already established he can teleport. Just teleports into the Blight, and he's just like in front of them on the path. You know what I mean? Just waiting for him.
They'll get to the eye of the world, Moiraine and Rand, and then they'll be like, "Man, I wish we had help." And they'll turn around, the whole gang will be standing there.
Like, we've been waiting here for hours. How? Lan teleported us. Apparently he can do that.
Oh, and great.
I think that'll happen. You know what would be great though, if they just totally threw us off and like Rand and Moraine go in there and they fight whatever it is they're gonna fight, and like Rand just like dies instantly. And then she's like, "Oh shit! Like he wasn't the dragon," and like that's the big twist. Now, and then someone else has to step up.
I could be more on board with that.
That would be amazing.
If they're really redoing it totally, like if this was a total false narrative, and like Rand's gonna die. Maybe he'll save everyone, but he will die, and then that will mean that he's not the dragon and someone else is. Like that's fine. Now, I do think it would be weird if they made it a female, not for any female or male empowerment issues, but because the whole point of the show is that men can't touch the one power, even though the dragon is super powerful, because they go mad because they're a man, and then they either destroy the world or save the world. So to make the dragon a female would not make sense within the world.
Just wouldn't make sense, because the whole world is supposed to be who runs this world.
The Aes Sedai, the women do.
The women do. The women are completely in charge. They dominate this world. Yes, and then the guys, even if they get a taste of the power, just go mad. So that was supposed to be the whole idea. So that was weird too, because it just kind of cuts in the face of the core of the story, which was that the women are completely in charge, and it's like, oh, but this man, there could be a man who could touch the power and become very powerful, but could also destroy the world if he did it. And that's why they're so careful about allowing men to touch the power,
and that's why they don't just gentle someone when they do right away. That's why they give them a trial, because they don't want to accidentally gentle the dragon.
Exactly. Yep. So Yeah, but we'll see. We could be getting a 4-headed dragon, maybe a 3-headed dragon. Maybe Rand just dies right away. I mean, that would be interesting. But that also goes to show how little we care about these characters at this point. Like, honestly, if any of them died, I wouldn't be like, okay.
No,
none of them.
I still don't feel attached to anyone. I really don't. I would say Moiraine seems to be the main character. I feel nothing. I'm dead inside when it comes to these characters. But it's true that way too much time on Steppen, way too much time on the Green Aes Sedai, way too much time, I think, on the Amyrlin with the open with her. Not enough time learning about Rand and Egwene and Perrin and Mat. Just not enough time on those characters.
Yep, making them characters that we like,
that we care about, that we that we like and we care about. Instead, they've just all kind of been bratty, insufferable kids, and the story really has not revolved. It's not like it's kind of about them, but it's like everyone else's actions.
Right.
You know? So
they're not characters that are being very proactive and doing things that those are the characters you tend to like, characters that take action. Yeah, they're just kind of along for the ride, and we're not learning a lot about them or finding any reason to be invested in them or really like them. So, but hey, we still got time. Maybe this next episode, Justin, is going to totally blow our socks off, and we're going to say this is the greatest show ever made. What do you think probability on that? What do you think the chances are that
Tyler,
this next episode?
You ignorant slut.
I mean, what do you think? Like one out of 3?
Well, what are the odds that like I'm like blown away and I'm like, oh my god, that was
this next episode is
incredible,
so good,
and now I'm like, I'm gonna rewatch the whole season and I'm like, maybe I'm gonna love it.
Yep.
The odds of that happening, like if I'm being fair, if I'm gonna be fair, I would say single digit percentages. I would say 3 to 5%. I just
so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the way Amazon would view it.
Yep. Yeah, I would have to say too, like 1 in 100,000 at this point. Could they make it good enough to make me excited to see season 2? I would say, they could do that with a decent prep to make me forget about all of the sins of this first season. No, I'd say this was a bit of a rough ride. Had some potential, but man, have they squandered a lot and haven't given me any good reasons for why they made the changes they made to the story. And so it's just a little disappointing. And for as much as they were spending on the episodes, I still just can't quite grasp why everything looks the way it does. Like I don't understand it.
I got to bring this up before we end here, and then before we're back for the finale very soon. It's actually drops tonight from when we're recording this. Is that I heard a theory that this was all a tax scam, and that oh
my god, yeah,
the creators, like, it was all just a scam. Like, they pitched this idea to Amazon and everybody, and they got all the money, and then they like did it as low budget as they could. They pocketed all the money, and then they're just out.
That's so brilliant. And you know what? That would make so much sense.
Wouldn't it make more sense? It would.
Oh my god, it would just make so much sense. You'd be like, oh, that explains everything, and then you just kudos to them, and you move on to a new show, because that makes way more sense than the numbers that they're saying for how some of these things look. I just can't fathom it. Like, there have been shows that came out like 20 years ago with way smaller budgets that have used CGI and set design and things like that far more effectively than this show has. And so I just don't get how has it regressed? Because like there are times when it's like you can see very clearly why it's bad. The CG just looks bad, the set just looks fake. But there are other times where just everything is off and it's not quite, you can't even put your finger on, like, why doesn't this just look real?
It didn't go through final editing rounds where they didn't fully finish. Like sometimes like in the Marvel movies, they'll have like scenes that were cut. So like they were shot and developed, but then like they didn't go through final editing. So like they're super rough. The animation is super rough. It almost feels like that. Like some of these shots and some of these scenes like just didn't go through final editing rounds.
And like there's just something about the cinematography that like it just always feels a little fake. Even the costume design, to me, it's like it just doesn't feel real. And again, you can go back to movies I've been watching for 20 years that are like set in a medieval time that look real, and you don't think anything about the costumes or where they are, the castles or the city. Everything just feels and looks real, and this one just doesn't, and I don't get it. like what did they do wrong? It's kind of flabbergasting. But maybe this next episode will at least be good enough to lay the groundwork for giving me a semi.
Yes, for giving Tyler a rager and
maybe wanting to watch season 2.
I agree. That's at this point. I think season 1 is just. It's gonna be really hard to change my mind for all the reasons you just stated. Way too rushed. Again, it felt like Game of Thrones season 7 or 8. It was like they didn't have any source material and they were just rushing everybody through the entire world and through the entire story when they could have taken so much more time and done everything so much more deliberately. So I'm gonna hope that the finale tonight is at least good enough to, like you said, get us excited about season 2, because it's already been ordered. It's already, I think, in production. So we're gonna get a season 2, whether we end up wanting it or not. But it would be nice to have a positive finale video.
It would,
don't you think? It would be nice.
It would be to at least say, okay, that was good, and at least that laid the groundwork. Maybe they can fix their mistakes, take some criticism and feedback, and make season 2 really good. Be interesting to see. Or all these producers and stuff are just going to cash one more huge check, and they're like, oh my god, they're going to let us do it again. Like, we only spent $500,000 an episode. They were giving us $10 million. Like, oh my god. These people are all on yachts getting phone calls about, like, we're going to do it again. We're cashing in, baby.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
You son of a bitch, I'm in. Exactly. They're getting their crew together for one more ride.